Hello and welcome to FPS Coach. My name's Rambo, and in this video, I want to share a valuable gaming lesson that I learned at my first major gaming tournament, which was in 1998 at QuakeCon in Dallas, Texas. I was around 16 or so at the time, and I remember during the drive there being super confident and thinking I was going to win the event because I was beating all my high school friends. After setting up my PC and getting everything just right, it was time to find a warm-up match. And who better than some older looking guy at least twice my age. So we loaded up a game of Quake 2 and began our 1v1 on a map I was very familiar with. I knew the flow of the map, the location of all the weapons and items, and my favorite angles. My confidence couldn't be any higher. As we played the match, it seemed like I had the better aim than him, but it always felt like he was getting the jump on me and landing the first shot. He was cutting me off in the open and setting traps, completely catching me off guard. He ended up smacking me with the worst loss of my life, and serving me a fat slice of humble pie. After the match, I had to ask him about the mistakes I was making and how to get better, and then that's when I learned a valuable lesson in the importance of game sounds. In the game we played, Quake 2, essentially every sound that is made by a player is heard clearly by any other player in the map, no matter where they are on the map. It was kind of a buggy audio system, so essentially universal sound. Every time my opponent heard 3 fast clicks in a row, he knew I was picking 3 items up right next to each other, thus knowing my exact location. There I was running around the map, picking up every item in sight without possibly thinking about the repercussions. In every FPS game we play, there are distinct audio cues providing valuable information. Things like how far someone is by gauging the loudness of the sound, or knowing the location of someone by listening to the type of floor they're running on, if they're running out of ammo and reloading, which type of weapon they have, if they're taking damage, opening a door, picking up an item, and so on. These audio cues are powerful information because they can be heard through walls, floors, and from any direction, whereas vision only provides information that is seen in front of you. Before I open up a game and show you some methods to improve and check your audio skills, here are 5 quick tips to consider for optimal game sounds. The first tip is I highly recommend using decent quality headphones or earplugs over speakers because the audio from the headphones have less traveling time to the ear and less interference from the environment. The second tip is be careful of setting your audio volume too loud because it will cause permanent damage to your eardrums. Please be careful. The third tip is to balance your game audio with your teammates' voice communication levels so that one sound is not overpowering the other. The fourth tip is to disable any sounds that interfere with useful game sounds. For example, some games have ambient sounds that make useless noises or sounds from the map environment, like the rustling of the grass, or maybe it's water flowing, so disable those ambient sounds, and as well as music. And the last tip is to consider the type of sounds in your game. For example, some games it's easier to hear the higher pitch sounds in the treble frequency, or some games you can actually hear sounds better in the lower pitch sounds in the bass frequency. So that's something to keep in mind, as well as which equipment you're using. So some headphones or earplugs, they're super bass heavy, that's made for music, and that wouldn't be very useful for games that have higher treble pitch sounds that give away valuable information. Okay, so with these tips in mind, I'm gonna load up Overwatch and show you some tips and drills that you can use to test your sound and your equipment. And then after that, I'm going to load CSGO and show you how I can run those same drills in that game. So I've got Overwatch loaded, and the first drill or first technique I want to show you to test your 3D spatial ability skills, to hear left and right audio. And what you want to do, again, all these methods or drills can be used in any of your FPS games. And what you want to do is find a static noise that's consistent. And we're going to use this friendly bot here. So as this bot is shooting these little bullets here, what we're going to do is just turn left to right, and we should be able to clearly hear the sound coming from our left and right side of our audio. So that's clearly to our left, and it should be to our right. And then as we look to the middle, it should be evenly balanced. Then what you want to do is just rotate quickly right to left, and you'll hear that transition. Okay, so now with this in mind, we have a good gauge of how distinct these sounds are coming from our left and right. So if we're not even looking at the bot, we should know if it's left or right. Right, so now we have a gauge of that sound. And if you're not able to clearly hear this left and right, then there might be, you might have poor quality headphones or sound. Again, I highly recommend getting a decent pair of headphones or even earplugs. I think speakers, there's too much travel time from the speakers to your ears, so ambient noise can interfere or other white noise. Okay, so now that we've got the left and right figured out, now we got to figure out the distance of sounds. So all we simply have to do is just move closer and further away from this sound. So as we get to about here, we pretty much lose all sound. It's very, very faint. So we know now that anytime we move closer to this bot, we should be able to hear gun sounds. Now, some games, the audio sounds are louder for particular triggers than others. For example, some guns will have really powerful guns that the sound travel distance is heard louder, whereas maybe weaker guns will be lower. So depending on your game, it's your goal or your job, I guess, to figure out the sound distances or the sound distance travel between all the sounds in the game. And the important ones are footsteps, of course, and also gun sounds, because those are like the two main giveaways of position. Okay? So now, as you're getting a little bit better, more familiar, you want to move closer and further away and test the left and right. And what you can do is also just close your eyes. And I'm closing my eyes here. I'm going to black out the monitor actually. And then let's see if you guys can kind of follow along and pinpoint the sound. Alright, so I've got Counter-Strike Go loaded now. And let me show you those same examples in this game. So again, all these drills or all these methods and techniques to test your audio can be used in any of your FPS games. So since we don't have any bots or any static shooting noises, what we could do is load single player and load like a practice config where you have unlimited nades. So what we could do here is throw our smoke, and we can use this to use or to test our spatial 3D left and right. So I'm going to throw the smoke and I'm going to look left and right and middle, and that way we can have a starting point of the direction of these sounds. And then if I transition from left to right, we should be able to hear that smoke there. Then we'll test our left side now. And now it should be even. It should be to our right. So what you could do is just go around and throw smokes. And then we can test and make sure that the smokes are clearly being played distinguishably in our headset or earphones. Okay, now what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna throw some smokes, a couple smokes, and then I'm gonna black out the screen, and then let me know if you guys know exactly which direction it's coming from. So I'm going to do one to the left and one to the right. Okay, next smoke. Okay, so the first one was left and the second one was right. If you guys couldn't clearly hear that, then I would definitely look into your equipment. You could have ear issues too, I don't know. That might be a case, but something that you guys should test in your game and with your equipment. All right, now the second test, now that we've got the 3D left to right spatial test done, is the distance checking. And same thing applies here. You can just throw the smokes at different distances to gauge how well you can hear the distances. So that sound is going to be quieter than this. Right? And then one right here is going to be way louder. So it's a quick, easy way to test left and right and distance. So now that I've showed you how to do the 3D spatial test and distance checking, the third one, this one is going to be game dependent. So the end goal is to be able to hear any sound and know exactly what that means. So in every game, when a sound is made, it's triggered by some action or something. For example, footsteps, right? So someone makes running footsteps on the floor, makes a clear noise, okay? And so games like Counter-Strike, this is crucial because an example would be when I'm running on this concrete floor, it's gonna make a different noise than these stairs. So you guys should clearly be able to hear that transition from concrete to a tinny sound. So if I'm inside and I'm holding here and I hear that transition, then I should know, okay, well, an enemy is running up these stairs. And then with that sound, I should be able to know what that timing is. Okay, so I hear that footstep, I hear that traveling. So I have about 2 or 3 seconds until that player is going to be peeking that way, right? So I could hear that footstep from here. I could be maybe even this corner. It might be able to hear that sound. I'm not sure going to be quite reach there, but you know, if I'm near that sound, I can hear that, and then I know to turn up there, right? Another example of sounds you need to learn are action items or toggleable items like doors, right? When I hear that, or I broke the vent, but when you break the vent, that makes a noise. That drop sound right there. Then running on this tin, right? So if I hear someone drop down and I hear them running like this is like about 4 seconds of travel time. Whereas if someone drops and goes this route, then there's that transition footstep, then I know where to place that enemy depending on those travel times as well as the transition sounds. There's, you know, blatant obvious ones like this window that used to be here that I broke, but your goal, again, is to learn all those sounds. And then essentially, say if my monitor blacked out for some reason, I can still, with the audio sounds, get so much information, right? Like I hear all these sounds, I hear footsteps, I hear the distance, how far it is, and all these sounds, I should still be able to have some kind of image in my head of what's happening in the game. And that's the goal you want to get to. So, yep, that does it for this video. Give it a thumbs up if it was helpful, and subscribe to stay up to date.